Good morning, Faith Church family, and welcome to our online service. We're so glad that you're joining with us this morning. Every year on this final Sunday in December, we take a step back from our normal routine and we create some space for rest for our volunteers, our staff, and our whole church family. Even though we aren't gathering in person this morning, we're still gathering as the body of Christ, united in worship and in His Word. We pray that today's service encourages you, helps you reflect on God's faithfulness this past year, and prepares your heart for all that He has ahead. Be sure to stay with us right until the end. Some of our staff will be walking through some small group questions together, and you won't want to miss it. We can't wait to see you back in person next Sunday, January 4th, as we return to our true service schedule at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. For now, settle in, quiet your heart, and let's worship together.
Through every battle, through every heartbreak, through every circumstance, I believe that you are my fortress, you are my portion, you are my hiding place. So I believe you are the way, the truth, protector, you are the one I love. Oh, I believe you are the way, the truth, the life. I believe you are the way, the truth, the life. Who believes it this morning? It's a new horizon, and I'm set on you. And you meet me here today with mercies that are new. All my fears and doubts, they could all come to, because they can't stay long when I'm here with you. It's a new horizon, and I'm set on you. And you meet me here today with mercies that are new. Whoa. All my fears and doubts, they can all come to, because they can't stay long. But I believe that you are the way, the truth, the life. I believe you are the way, the truth, the life. I believe you are. It's a new horizon, and I'm set on you. And you meet me here today with mercies that are new. Whoa. All my fears and doubts, they can all come to, because they can't stay long. But I believe in you are the way, the truth, the life. I believe you are the way, the truth, the life. I believe you are. Do you believe that faith to give the Lord praise this morning?
Well, good morning, Faith, and Merry Christmas and a happy almost New Year. Thanks for joining us online for our December 28th service. We take this week to do an online pre-recorded service to give all of our staff and volunteers a week off after a really busy push towards Christmas. Hope you've had some great time with the family. I hope there's still more to come. And thanks for taking some time to join with us. We're going to dive back into Ecclesiastes. We've taken a bit of a break as we journeyed through John chapter 1 over the Christmas season. And then now we're going to be back in Ecclesiastes for this 3 or 4 weeks before we then take a pause in January into February to celebrate our 75th anniversary. And as we do that on our anniversary party on January 17th, and then from January 18th until mid-February, for 4 Sundays, we're going to be doing a series called A Legacy of Faith, and just celebrating all that God has done in and through this place for 75 years. And also you get to see some videos coming up through that, like where we talk about just the history of this place and the amazing things God has done in and through his people here over these years. So looking so forward to that. We're glad to be back into Ecclesiastes with you this morning. And we're into Ecclesiastes chapter 6. We've kind of officially passed the halfway point of the book. There's 12 chapters in Ecclesiastes. We'll finish the entire series by the time we come towards Easter. So after our anniversary series, we'll come back into Ecclesiastes just for a few more weeks to finish it up before we get into an Easter series in March. So we're in Ecclesiastes 6, verses 1 through 12 this morning. And the title is Everything Yet Empty. It's this idea of like having all the things, but maybe still feeling this emptiness inside. I had what I consider to be the privilege of growing up in the 80s and 90s. And one of the many wonders of those days was the absolute like explosion of like home video game systems. Like I remember, like I'm old enough to remember like actually going to like proper arcades, like in the mall and stuff, and corner stores all had arcade machines in them as well. But this is just like when video game systems were becoming like a thing in homes. And I have like a vague memory. I think I was 5 years old, maybe 4, of going to my cousin's house. And they had this system, like a hand controller and the wheel on it. And they were playing Frogger. I think it was Frogger on the system. Like I didn't know at the time. I know now. Like it was ColecoVision, which was like one of the very first like home video game systems. And all I remember was wanting that thing more than life itself. Like this would be the best thing if I could just have that. Like it was so much fun. The Frogger. I think they had Pong as well. Revolutionary games, right, to play. We never got one of those. And the timeline's a bit fuzzy, but it was like a year, maybe 2 years later, that my sister and I got like our first video game system, which was the Atari 2600. The classically the joystick with like the one button on it, and like the best and worst game on Atari 2600 for me was Asteroids. I remember that game, like the little like triangle shaped plane that would like spin around in place and you'd like just shoot the rocks that came at you. So stressful, impossible to win. But that was like peak video gaming in like 1985 or 6, whatever it was. Now, we had the Atari for a while and loved that system, played it all the time, and it was amazing until my buddies started to get Nintendos. I still remember like the first guy in my elementary school, his name was Gord. He was the first one of like our friend group in our grade to get a Nintendo. Nobody liked Gord after that because it was all he talked about. like all of a sudden, Atari was nothing. Needed to have Nintendo, right? And of course, Super Mario Brothers was like culture shifting game over time. But like to play that was amazing. And like eventually, I remember it was probably another 2 years later, like after Nintendo came out, that we actually got a Nintendo system. I remember that Christmas morning coming down and unwrapping the Nintendo, and like the first game I got with it was called Excite Bike. It was like this like dirt bike racing game, and like crazy, like loved Nintendo and played that thing for like countless hours. And it was great until Super Nintendo came out. Right? I think they got the Super Nintendo maybe relatively quickly after it came out, and like that was like Mario Kart was a thing on that. F-Zero, another like racing game, played a ton of that. Played that for years until like my first year of college. I spent some of my OSAT money to buy an N64, right? And like that was like, we spent like a lot of time in college playing N64, especially playing GoldenEye, like the best multiplayer game in history, period, bar none, right? And that was great until like, and I skipped a few systems along the way. Like PlayStations and Xboxes started to come out, and like I didn't really have any interest in those until like eventually, like I think it was like Xbox One or Xbox 360, like one of like the kind of the later generation Xboxes just got too good. And so I eventually got one of those and had that at home, played like a lot of Guitar Hero on that. I remember that game, right? We had that for a while. Then eventually it caved. It was actually over COVID. I caved and bought a PS4. And now, I mean, I barely play it except for when my son Elijah wants to play me in NBA 2K and beat me on that. So I don't play a whole lot of it anymore, but even still, it's like, oh, a PS5 would be even better, right? There's always a sense of it's the newer, the cooler, the prettier, shinier thing. And we always want that. And maybe you've experienced a sense of that this Christmas, right? I mean, that's kind of a classic thing where we have our wish list and the things we're hoping to get. Maybe you've gotten a thing. Maybe there was something on your list you're hoping, waiting to get. Maybe you finally got it. And maybe now, it's been a few days. Maybe it's still sitting under the tree. Maybe you're finding well, it's good. I like it. But maybe you find your thoughts already drifting to now the next thing that you might want to get. Material possessions have a way of doing that for us. They don't really satisfy the way we think maybe they should. There's something about human nature that's just never really satisfied, isn't there? There's just this gap in our system. The item we dreamed of owning once we purchased it doesn't really satisfy anymore. The life goal that you worked for years towards achieving, you get it and you're like, okay, yeah, no, check that box, that's done. It feels hollow. So we crave the new thing. We set a higher goal, and every time we do, we're still sure okay, this next one, this is going to be the one. This is going to be the time that this is going to bring fulfillment. This is going to be where I'm finally happy. And then you get there, and it just never seems to bring what you were hoping it would bring. And that's what Ecclesiastes 6 talks about. We're in verses 1 to 12 today. And the preacher, again, he's in his travels and his surveying of humanity and our lives and how we live and all these kind of things. There's a story he's seen play out over and over and over again. And it's people who have everything imaginable, but are miserable. And the preacher calls this, what we'll see later, a grievous evil. Let me read for you Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verses 1 to 12. Here's what it says. There's an evil that I have seen under the sun, and it lies heavy on mankind. Man to whom God gives wealth, possessions, and honor, so that he lacks nothing of all that he desires. Yet God does not give him power to enjoy them, but a stranger enjoys them. This is vanity. It's a grievous evil. If a man fathers 100 children and lives many years, so the days of his years are many, but his soul is not satisfied with life's good things, and he also has no burial, I say that a stillborn child is better off than he. For it comes in vanity and goes in darkness, and in darkness its name is covered. Moreover, it has not seen the sun or known anything, yet it finds rest rather than he. Even though he should live 1,000 years twice over, yet enjoy no good, do not all go to one place. All the toil of man is for his mouth, yet his appetite is not satisfied. For what advantage has the wise man over the fool, and what does the poor man have who knows how to conduct himself before the living? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the appetite. This also is vanity and is striving after the wind. Whatever has come to be has already been named, and it is known what man is, and that he is not able to dispute with one stronger than he. The more words, the more vanity. What is the advantage to man? For who knows what is good for man while he lives the few days of his life in vain? Which he passes like a shadow. For who can tell man what will be after him under the sun? Let me take a moment and pray, and we'll continue in God's word together. God, as we look through this chapter in Ecclesiastes, as we look through, again, talking about the meaning of life, and specifically now, the idea of where we try to find meaning in stuff. God, help us to see where meaning is truly found. Lord, in your name we pray. Amen. So why does this happen? Why is it that these things that we think will bring satisfaction, why do they ultimately leave us hollow? Why, as Mick Jagger famously said, right? Why can't I get no satisfaction? What is it that's broken or missing in humanity that leaves us feeling like that? And why do we keep pursuing these things over and over again? Right? It's this idea that we have everything, but yet we're empty. And like the preacher says in Ecclesiastes 6, he calls it this grievous evil, that God would give a person everything, right? And he describes the person he has money, incredible wealth. He's got all this stuff, his honor among his peers. He's got a huge family. He's got everything he could ever desire, except for the ability to enjoy it. It's vanity, meaningless, vapor, according to the preacher. He's to have all these things and not be able to enjoy it is pure meaninglessness. For him to call it a grievous evil, it's like, of all the things he's talked about so far in Ecclesiastes, all the things he's found meaningless, it's like this one like uniquely ticks him off. Like he finds this is utterly horrible that people could have all this stuff and just be miserable. He says this, here's an example. He says, if a man fathers 100 children and lives many years, so the days of his years are many, but his soul is not satisfied with life's good things, and he has no burial, I say that a stillborn child is better off than he. So he creates this hypothetical situation. So it's like, like a guy's 100 kids and a very long life. Like he's kind of painting a picture. Many children in a long life, like those are like in their culture, and I mean still today, are signs of blessing. Like to live a long life and have as many kids as you could possibly have, those were signs of highest blessing from God. In Psalm 127 verses 4 and 5, say it like this: like arrows in the hands of a warrior are the children of one's youth. Blessed is the man who fills his quiver with them. Proverbs 9:11, for by me your days will be multiplied and years will be added to your life. So like, again, other places in scripture that affirm this idea that like children and long life are signs of blessing from God. So to the preacher's point, someone who has 100 kids and a very long life would be seen to be like remarkably blessed, like extraordinarily blessed by God. But he lacks that one thing, the ability to find satisfaction in any of it. For all that he has, he's unfulfilled. And the preacher compares him to a stillborn child, saying a stillborn child is better off than this man. Now, like the comparison it's jarring and it's awful, and it's intended to be. It's meant for shock factor. It's meant to horrify us. And most of all, it's actually meant to be a reversal of expectation. In the Psalms, David proclaimed this curse on his enemies in Psalm 58. He says, let them be like the snail that dissolves into slime, which is quite a picture on its own. But he says, like the stillborn child who never sees the sun. What David proclaims as a curse, that he wishes his enemies would be as one who's never even existed. David sees that as a curse. The preacher in Ecclesiastes sees that as a blessing. He says, he's like, it's better off. Like the child who never got to see the light of day is better off than the man who lives hundreds of years, has everything, but can't enjoy it. Right? And of course, we want to question that, or we want to rather than say, well, that's like, I don't agree with that. That's the point. He's trying to shock us. He's trying to make an example that is going to make us question things. And then the preacher doubles down. He keeps on going in the past, and he says, even if he should have 1,000 years twice over, right? So even if he should live 2,000 years, now we're talking about like extraordinary long life, like not just like he made it into his 90s or into his early 100s, but like 2,000 years. It's meaningless. It's like, what's the point? If you can live all that time with all those blessings, but not enjoy it, if you're just miserable, it's meaningless. It's a vapor. It's hevel. Like all those words he's used to say, this counts for nothing. So we have to ask then, why is this person so miserable? Why is this person, the preacher sees it? Like, and why is he seeing this over and over again? Why are people who, quote unquote, have it all miserable? What's happening? From any worldly perspective, he's got it. What more could he possibly want? That's the question. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. There's a syndrome called Prader-Willi syndrome. It's an incurable genetic disorder that leaves a person with a constant, insatiable appetite. Like the way their brain is wired, it actually prevents them from being able to feel full. So no matter how much they eat, they can't feel satisfied. Now you might think you hear that right away. You're like, oh, well, that's kind of nice, man. Especially around Christmas time, like you can kind of go crazy on the meals and feel, oh, that's great. I can eat as much as I want. It's not a benefit. Like obviously, it's a horrible, miserable curse. Like people inflicted with this syndrome, if it's not treated, if they're not cared for really well, they can literally eat until they destroy themselves. Right? Because they are forever feeling unsatisfied. Right? They can't be filled. They physically cannot be satisfied. And that's a bit of what this passage talks about, is that like in humanity, there's this insatiable appetite. There's this aspect to us that won't be filled, it seems, right? Like the preacher says, all the toil of man is for his mouth, yet his appetite is not satisfied. It's insatiable. Verses like 7-9 in this passage in Ecclesiastes 6, it's a proverb. And it points to the heart of man's misery, that in spite of all the good things he has, he's never satisfied. No matter how much he gains, no matter how many kids he has, no matter how long he lives, he wants more. His heart's never filled. His mind never content. His soul never at rest. That's our problem, is that there's this something in us is wired to want more, but no matter how much we get, it doesn't change a thing. And he says this, he says, better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the appetite. What he means by that is like you're much better off enjoying what's in front of you, what you have in your hands. It's almost like the a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush kind of illustration. It's the same idea that like just enjoy what you already have instead of letting your eyes wander off to what you don't and pursuing that. It's the video game analogy all over again, right? That he's got the Nintendo in his hand, but the Super, like, it's the idea that we can't seem to be content with what we have. We're always seeking what's next and what's more. And that creates this gap in us. We've got it right in front of us, but he can't think about what he has. He can only think about what he doesn't yet have. So he can't enjoy it. Can't enjoy it. But here's what we have to learn. Like we know it. I know it, but like knowing it here and knowing it here is different. More isn't the answer. Like we know that intellectually, but there's still something here that makes us strive for that. We have this expectation that just like that next, like whatever will be the thing that fixes us. John D. Rockefeller, one of the wealthiest men in the history of humanity. He lived he was born in the early 1830s, 1839. He died in the 1930s, early 1930s. He founded a company called Standard Oil, which is like the mother parent company of many of the modern oil companies today. At one point in time, his company accounted for 90% of U.S. oil production. And this is at the time of like the Industrial Revolution when everybody was just starting to really need oil. So his wealth grew exponentially, like very, very quickly. Adjusted for like modern inflation and stuff like that, they say his personal wealth would have been somewhere around $45 billion. So a man who had everything and then some. He's famously quoted as saying, talking about wealth, like, well, if you get 10, you'll want 20. And when you get 20, you'll want 40. And on and on and on it goes. And another example, maybe more contemporary example, Canadian actor, comedian Jim Carrey, a guy who's had tons and tons of success and made tens and probably hundreds of millions of dollars from his films. He's famously quoted as saying this, I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of so they can see it's not the answer. Which is interesting. And these are two examples. You can find plenty more of people who have, by the world standard, everything. And just want to tell people, yeah, that's not it. And we see, like, we can talk over and over again about all kinds of examples of that in society. We can also look to Jesus' words, right? In Luke chapter 12, verse 16, Jesus says this, take care, be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. One's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. All right? Which leads us to the next question then. So like, is stuff the problem? Like, is owning things or having possessions or is that where the issue is? And like, well, not directly. I mean, like, I think stuff can cause a problem for us. I mean, have you ever felt like, done like a big like decluttering of like your house or your room or your whatever? And that have you felt that weight come off? Like when you get rid of the stuff, it's like physical things do create a weight on us, and there's a problem we have too much. It's something that does something to us. So there's something there, but stuff in and of itself, that's not primarily the problem. It's the value that we place on things. That's where the issue comes. It's when we like let stuff or even like people, status, when we let anything else in our world take the place that belongs to God. That's when the issue comes. When we expect a thing or a person or a job or a title or whatever to fulfill us, now we're on shaky ground. And now what we're doing is we're making an idol out of those things. We're saying, like, not only we're setting ourselves up for failure, We're putting those things into a place they can't possibly achieve for us. So it might be like a perfectly good gift, like a physical item that like can maybe make your life better, be a good thing. But if you put too much hope in it, it's going to break, right? It's going to break your heart. Same is true of people. Like if you're relying on a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a family member or friends to be like it for you, no human being can do that. Right? Eventually they will let you down because they can't hold God's place in your life. It's not for more than a minute, right? Before it falls apart. Instead, we have to turn to the only one we know who can bring true fulfillment. And that's found in God himself. Ecclesiastes 3, the preacher makes a profound statement where he says, also he has put eternity into man's heart. It's Ecclesiastes 3:11. Right, so the preacher himself acknowledges, he's like, humanity is wired to want for what's beyond this place, to want heaven. What's hardwired into us. The French philosopher by the name of Blaise Pascal, he called it the God-shaped hole, right? Like that every human being has this like vacuum in our existence where God's supposed to be. And we will try to fill our life with anything and everything to clog up that hole, to take that spot, right? And a lot of stuff can fulfill that thing for a minute or two, for a week, for a year, right? Enough money, enough success, the right people, sex, whatever else. Like there are things that can give that temporary gratification, but none of it lasts because they're not meant to fill that spot. Right? We're built to seek out God, but we're so blinded by sin that we either don't see it or we don't want to see it. And the NIV application commentary says it like this. And like when I don't often laugh when I read commentary because they're not, they're not meant to be funny, but I read this paragraph and like I laughed like audibly in my office. So I want to read it to you because of the way they put it. So human beings are too stupid to recognize their own creator, which I love. So they go on hoarding goods to their own harm, even though these possessions do the owner no real good while he or she possesses them, but bring with them lack of satisfaction, worry, sleeplessness, frustration, anger. This is the reality of human life reflected through the Bible, which identifies the human attachment to material things as one of the primary barriers that exists between God and his human creatures. Let me say that again. This is the reality of human life reflected through the Bible, which identifies the human attachment to material things as one of the primary barriers that exists between God and his human creatures. Man, that hits hard. Stop asking worldly things to accomplish heavenly objectives. Stop asking human beings to do for you what only God can do for you. The new gadget won't bring lasting joy. The bigger car can't bring satisfaction. The new boyfriend or girlfriend or spouse won't fix what's broken in your heart. What you need, what you crave, what your soul knows you desire is Jesus. Matthew 6:19-21 says it like this. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That's where the key is. It's okay to have things and enjoy them. It's okay to have goals and pursue them. It's certainly okay to love people and hold them close. Our problems begin when we allow something of this world to take God's place as first in our heart. When we do that, we will find ourselves unsatisfied. We will find ourselves trying to fill that vacuum, that hole that Blaise Pascal talked about. So we pursue God and his kingdom first and foremost. That's what we forever have to realign ourselves with. We talk about be, love, serve, repeat here as our mission statement, that each chapter of our life and each journey of our Christian faith, sometimes season by season, sometimes day by day, saying, God, today I'm going to be a disciple of yours. I'm going to follow you. Today, God, I'm going to love. I'm going to love you. I'm going to love others. God, today I'm going to serve. I'm going to use the time, the talents, the treasures. I'm going to use the things you've given me for your purposes. And I'm going to repeat those things throughout the story of my life. I have to constantly refocus myself on that. Because left to my own devices, I will pursue the things of this world. I will go back after them again. Because like the commentary said, human beings are too stupid to recognize their creator. Even those of us who know him and follow him or are trying to, we can still get distracted by the things over there. when our desires for God above all else, then our desires are satisfied. And then we'll be able to enjoy the good things that God gives us as gifts from him. Close with this, Matthew 5:6. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Hunger and thirst after those things, and we'll be satisfied. That's where the key is. Pursue not the things of this world. We can have them, we can enjoy them, but our focus, our pursuit, our hunger, and our thirst needs to be for God. When it is, we can enjoy the things he gives us in their proper context as blessings and gifts. Hey, stick around just after this. We're going to take some time. I've got Pastor Phil, Nichelle, Lisa, and Greg all coming in, and we're going to sit around and talk, and we're going to answer some of the small group questions that we put out this week, and just talk a little bit about that. So I'd love for you to stick around for that time. That'll be attached right on the back end of this video. Also, since you're watching Church at Home today, that's Sunday, December 28th, but next Sunday, we're back in action to 2 services, 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock. And we'll look forward to seeing you back there and kicking off the new year together. Have a great day. Hope you've had a Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a Happy New Year as well. Morning, Faith. It's Pastor Jeremy here, along with Phil and Nichelle and Lisa and Greg. And Merry Christmas. It's Sunday, December 28th. And I hope you've had a great Christmas season so far. And this morning, you've probably just watched the sermon we recorded for you. We've jumped back into our Ecclesiastes series after a break over the Christmas season, and we're in Ecclesiastes 6, 1 through 12. So if you haven't watched that part yet, watch that first, because what we're going to take some time to do today is to talk through a few of the small group questions. And I'm not sure if your small group is meeting this week or not, but if it is, take some time to go through these questions and more just watch what we have to say about it. But I did want to ask a Christmas-related question just to start off our conversation. If you could spend Christmas anywhere, not including home, because I know some people would say, I just want to be at home and nothing else, but if you couldn't be at home, where else in the world, anywhere, would you want to spend Christmas? Phil?
I think that maybe some people want the beach resort kind of a thing, but there's got to be snow for me to be able to really feel like it's Christmas. So not that I need to be out in it. I'd rather not do that, but be inside looking at snow. So whether that's honestly, the first place that came to mind was Switzerland. I can look at mountains and snow and enjoy it all from inside.
Right. And you guys went to Switzerland a little while back.
Yeah. Ashley and I went a few years back in the summertime. So I think it'd be sweet to see it around Christmas time, because I think they do a lot of markets and things like that too.
That'd be cool. Really cool.
Yeah, I think I want to steal your answer, Phil. But I want to, I would love to take, a snow globe, the scene that's in the center of the snow globe, it's like a cabin situation with the snow. That is where I would want to spend my time if I wasn't at home for Christmas. Snow falling, but I'm securely in the cabin, not having to go outside into the snow, but I see it falling. It's very picturesque. That's what I would want.
So you want to do Christmas in a Hallmark movie, basically?
Absolutely, I do. Absolutely.
Everybody's wearing green and red.
Yes, all the classic.
The big city guy comes back to small town.
Save the town. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say, this is going to sound so cheesy, but I actually don't care where I am, as long as I'm with my family. If I have my husband and my kids and my friends, it really doesn't matter where we are. I like the idea of a cabin in the woods. I think that sounds really beautiful. But it really doesn't matter. It could be anywhere.
It is cheesy.
And coming on a beach, summer warm, ocean. Yeah, I'll take that.
We've talked a couple times about doing what if we just got on a plane after the Christmas Eve service and went south. It's a part of that sounds really nice. There's a part the cabin, definitely the cabin north, surrounded by snow. I'd interact with the snow a little bit. I'd make a snowman, but then I'd go back inside. Mm-hmm. Something about being in the mountains is in BC or something like that, or Colorado, just be in the mountains, that would be cool for a couple of days, and then be south for New Year's, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And somewhere warm and thaw out for a little while. Let's talk a little bit about from the sermon and the small group question. So the sermon today talks about this idea, the title of the sermon is Everything Yet Empty. And this idea that the preacher has talked about this situation where he's observed people who got everything in life and are somehow still miserable. Right, they have all the family, they have all the material possessions, honor, wealth, everything, and just exists miserably. And the preacher calls it a grievous evil. This is the thing that's made him more angry than anything else he's talked about so far. And it's really this idea about like what does it mean to like live like the good life? In your view, how do you think our culture defines the good life?
I hear a lot of like financial freedom, right? So working hard while you can, so you can one day retire and like have the cottage, have the cars, have the boat, and not have to worry about expenses, and being able to travel and kind of getting away from, I guess, like the busyness of life. So I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
I get the sense in my conversations with a lot of people that it almost has as much to do with kind of like a self-worth and identity as much as it is with like a material thing. So if I am successful because of my education or because of my job title or because of my picture perfect family, those kinds of things, as long as I can convince everyone that I'm living a good life, then I'm satisfied, kind of a thing.
That's an interesting point. It's not so much about like the stuff as it is like the status it gives you, right? Interesting.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just looking for a very full life. They want to do all of the things. They want to have a lot of friends, a lot of money, a lot of stuff, a lot of vacations, just a schedule that's kind of jam-packed for a lot of people, I think is what they would define as success, doing all the things, living a really full life.
Yeah, that's true.
I think one of the things that just human beings value the most is like personal autonomy, right? I want to be able to do what I want, when I want, and I don't want it to have to like burden me in any type of a way. So whether that's like experience all the things, travel all the places, buy whatever it is that I need, I want to be able to do that. And I think that like a lot of people that I have conversation with, and I think even like I've probably said that in my teenage years and things like that, like what do I want in life? I just want to be able to do what I want to do. And if I can do that, then I'm doing something right.
Yeah. So like, and what we've journeyed through Ecclesiastes so far, like Ecclesiastes 6, we're halfway through the book now. Like, how does what we've seen in Ecclesiastes, even in this chapter, challenge that?
As I've been journeying through Ecclesiastes, and I'll admit it before this series, I've read it a few times, but it's been really good to get into the book and really think through kind of the overarching themes and stuff. And it's been interesting because a lot of the things the preacher's talking about, like they're good things, like family's good, but it's how I've taken it as it's important to not make good things the thing. And so not making like things idols in our lives, because idols can never deliver for what God can deliver. And so it's just been, for me, kind of helping me reorient my thinking of, okay, well, what is the best thing? And am I putting other things that were never meant to be the best thing as the best thing?
Yeah, he comes back to that idea over and over again. Like he's almost like he's like systematically like going through like life and like just pointing out like, oh, that's meaningless. Oh, that's vanity. Oh, that's like, right. And it's all these things that like in their proper place aren't like bad. That's when we elevate them into like this like godlike status, so they become like a problem, right? That we rely on money, which in itself, like money's not evil or good. It's just a tool. But if you rely on it to like fix your life, well, then you're going to find yourself in trouble, right? But money's been obvious one, but like family is the same thing. Work is the same thing. Like these things that we think are inherently good, still like elevated to like the wrong status, can become destructive. It's somewhat surprising. Second question. In the sermon, I talked about like the kind of illustration of myself as a kid, and like kind of slowly acquiring different video game systems and always wanting the next one that came out, right? And that kind of pursuit of like always wanting the newer and the better thing. Can you think of a time from like childhood or adult life, like when you've like finally got something you've like been wanting for a long time? Are you like, so like tell like what was that thing? Why did you want it so bad? But did you ever have that experience of like, oh, I got it, and then now all of a sudden I don't really care about it or don't like it or didn't meet the expectations you had for it?
Yeah, I remember like this still so vivid in my mind. I was 15, my birthday's late in the year. And so all my friends ahead of me had gotten jobs, like their first job. And for me, like a job symbolized like, oh, I get my own money that I can choose to spend on whatever I want. It feels like a very adult step. And so I was just waiting for when I could turn 15 to start applying for jobs. So finally I turned 15. Started applying for jobs. The job that I got was McDonald's. And so I started working and very quickly realized two things. Number one, that working at McDonald's like sucked. I came home greasy all the time. People were always yelling at me. Like, I remember when I started, something had malfunctioned with like the scheduler, which was like this automatic thing. So I got placed on lot and lobby for 3 months, which for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it means you sweep the parking lot, you take out the garbage, and clean the bathrooms for 3 months straight. I hated it so much. And then the second thing that I realized was like, I've started working and I'm never gonna stop working again. It was like this really like vivid like time where I realized like, oh, I wanted this so badly, and now it's nothing like I thought it was gonna be. Like, it was such a disappointment, and now I'm like locked into this. I've started working. I'm gonna continue to work, and did not love my time there.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned the parking lot could use a sweep, so
other duties as assigned.
Yeah, I remember when I was in middle school, the big thing that everyone was starting to get of my friends who I thought had the best parents because they just said yes to everything they wanted. They all had BlackBerry phones. And so like the ones that had a touch screen, maybe about 3 inches long, but the full keyboard. And I didn't even have, or no, I did have a phone at that point, but it was a little flip phone, like a Motorola kind of a thing. And I just remember wanting that BlackBerry so bad. And I don't think I ever got it, but I just remember pretty quickly getting one that did slide up, and I could text with both thumbs even easier. So I was excited about that. And then everyone started getting iPhones. And all of a sudden I realized how like miserable my little, my thumb texting phone was, and it didn't compare. And yeah, that was it for me. That's when I knew I would never get an iPhone. It hurt me too bad.
Too bad. That iPhone FOMO was real. Like that came out, like everybody had to have that. I remember one of our students, I won't share his name, but one of our students when the first iPhone came out, he lined up. I was like, "You know what this is?" I'll tell you after. But he lined up outside of Walmart or was in town to get the phone. Right, was one of the first ones to get it. Walks out of the store, drops on the ground immediately.
Oh my
cracks
God.
the screen. Yeah. It's so good. And then, like, of course, he couldn't afford to get it fixed or replaced, so like he just had a brand new iPhone with a cracked screen for like 2 years after that. It was incredible.
I remember being at like a fall retreat as a high school student, and the speaker, so it was right in fall time when, all of the new phones always get launched. Yeah. And it was the year the iPhone 5 came out, and the camp speaker at this retreat, and his very first night, it's a room of teenagers on a Friday night, everyone's a little bit rambunctious, and for one of his points, and I don't remember what it was, he pulls out that he has the brand new iPhone 5, and the hush fell on like the whole room. It was like he had like pulled out like the golden like cup from like Indiana Jones or something, and it was like everyone just was gawking at this iPhone 5. So it's funny, this like, always wanting like that next new thing.
Yeah. What do you think it reveals about like our heart desire, like the inner like what like that thing that really drives us on the inside? What does that tell us about ourselves, about even like human nature?
I think for me, I've noticed like some of the things that I've gone after that I've really wanted or had to have, it's because somebody else had it. So I see like, for example, an influencer that's showing something, the newest thing from Costco that like you have to have and you have to get it. And I'm like rushing to Costco because it's going to sell out to get something, and realize it's like not at all what I thought it was going to be, not what it's cracked up to be. And I don't even really want it or need it, but this person had it and I want to be like that person. So I think it just reveals from my heart, like, just where my eyes are focused in that moment, that I'm looking at other people. I'm looking at what other people have, or maybe there's even like some jealousy that comes into it where I'm like, that person seems to have everything. I want to be like that person. So I think it reveals like the ugly places of my heart that just come out, that where my eyes are not fixed on Jesus, where they're fixed on the things and people around me.
Do you watch the Costco guys?
No.
Is that a thing?
It's a thing, 5 big booms. Nobody?
What is that?
I've heard the 5 big boom thing. I didn't know where it came from.
Yeah. Google it. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Is this going to send me on a wild goose chase back to Costco for more things I don't need?
No, just a double chunk chocolate cookie. I never had one.
I have.
And
A bit of a letdown.
it's like 800
Oh, I know.
calories, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Okay, I was with Bentley at Costco days ago, and he begged for one. So apparently he's watching. Not that right here it is.
Yeah. Disappointing.
All right. So It's not where the 5 big boom sink come from. I've heard it a bunch of times. I had no clue.
Yeah.
But you leave youth ministry and you're like, all like the slang stuff, you're out of tune with it now. It's falling further and further behind. Anyway, in Psalm 27 and in Proverbs 9, both those passages describe like children and long life as blessings. Like they talk about that as being like a key sign of blessing on someone's life. I feel like living a long life, that's a good thing. Family, like each of us, we have kids. Like those are like obviously huge blessings in our life. Why could they actually become problematic if they take a wrong place in our life?
Yeah, I think the problem comes, like, obviously things like long life and kids, those are blessings, those are gifts from God. But the problem comes in when they take up the wrong position in our lives, when we make them the thing that we are idolizing instead of Jesus and our relationship with him. And I feel like when we do that, we're trying to find joy in those things, but even God's blessings, like if we're trying to find joy in just the blessings, we're going to come up empty. But when we elevate God to the proper position and are living our lives for him and our relationship with him, then those blessings, those gifts kind of fall in line to where they're supposed to be, where they're like additions to our lives as opposed to foundations of our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Tim Keller used to say that often, like when we think of sin, we just think of it as doing bad things. But he always phrased it in saying that sin often comes in the form of making good things ultimate things.
Right.
And I think when we do that, especially in like relationships, like I don't know how often it is within Christian culture, we idolize marriage, right? So that, any of our young adults watching this, I know what's on your like goal list for 2026. But when you put someone, you take a good thing and put it into the place of an ultimate thing that's reserved for the place in our heart that is our relationship with God, it not only leaves us like dissatisfied with good things, it's also a disservice to, I think, like the people and the relationships in our lives, because now I'm setting them up to never meet my expectations because I put them in a way that I only can be satisfied by the character of God. And so I think that putting those good things in the position of those ultimate things, and not just robs us of joy, but it also fills us with like kind of contempt towards people for not being the ultimate thing. Yeah, none of us can be.
No, and I've seen that in like, especially in newer marriages, right? Like if couples have gone into like a little bit, maybe a little too like rose-colored glass kind of thing, like the idea that like now that I have you, everything's better, right? Like they're gonna ride off into the sunset kind of thing, right? And all of a sudden they're like, oh, like my spouse is just like this flawed person, right? Who fails and stuff. Like they're like, oh, like this is hard. Like, yeah, human beings we're all broken and messed up and have our like foibles and all these things, right? So like you come into marriage thinking like, oh, like now everything's good, and then when it's not, some of them want to bail. I mean, it's like, oh, like it's not perfect, so it must be horrible. Well, no, like marriage is never gonna be. There's no perfect. Right? It's ideally two people who both love Jesus and love each other, trying to do life together. And that's always going to be like, you got to fight for it. Right? But if you make it to this thing where it's like, this is going to be like, what's going to make my life good? That's like, yeah, nobody can live up to that. Yeah. Nobody can be that person for you. Mm-hmm. Right? And I've seen it we see it with parents, with kids sometimes, right? I've seen, especially like in sports culture, right? I've seen like parents kind of hang their own life dreams on like their kids' athletic pursuits, which is like a horrible thing. See, like someone's done youth ministry stuff. I've seen the weight it puts on kids, how it's crushing kids' relationships. Like Greg, I mean, you came up through like the world of like hockey culture, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure you've seen that over and over again. But
and it never translates to the kid. And what I mean by that is it doesn't help. It doesn't help at all.
Yeah. Jesus said in Luke 12:15, one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. Like that. What are some practical ways that we can guard our hearts against like the endless pursuit of more?
One thing for me is just practicing gratitude. I would find and still find myself always wanting what I don't have. So kind of that like hamster wheel, right? Once we get this thing, we're on to the next thing. We want the next, the better, the best. But taking a step back and being thankful for the blessings God has given me, or the things that I do have. Because I have things today that I never thought I would have. But it's so easy to forget how important those things are and to get sidetracked. And so taking taking moments throughout the day, the week, the month to just appreciate the things that God has blessed me with, instead of always focusing on what's next or what if or what can I get next.
That's actually something the preacher says in Ecclesiastes 6. He talks about like being content with what you have, like what you actually have, like your eyes on at the moment, right? Instead of like being like, I have this, but right, like always kind of looking to the next thing. He's like look at what's right in front of you and enjoy that, right?
Yeah, I would say also just practicing simplicity, like making space in our lives, decluttering our lives from the things that steal our focus away from Jesus. And I know for myself, one of the biggest ways that I try to practice that is through my phone, and putting good safeguards and parameters around how I use it. I know that there are like things that you can buy now, like I don't know if you guys have heard of like the brick or whatever. You can actually like lock yourself out of your phone, or like I know John Mark Coburn talks about like this movement, instead of a smartphone, make it a dumb phone, like get rid of all the things on it, that like all the social media, all of that. A couple of years back, like I was really convicted of this, and I actually switched back to a flip phone, which I don't recommend. Like the people at Rogers, I think actually thought I was crazy, and I ended up just like being like, I felt like I was a teenager again, because I would go to my friends and be like, "Can I borrow your phone? Like I can't text all this in T9 right now." So like that wasn't actually a practical move, but yeah, I've just found like so much benefit from like getting things like Instagram, Facebook, like off of my phone, not even having that temptation there, because if it is there, like I will go to it like time and time again.
And I think even like from like a practice from the life of Jesus that we overlook as like extra credit as Christians, but I think is can be like essential in helping us like combat kind of like consumerism and like that ongoing pursuit for more, is the practice of Sabbath. Just because it's like this radical resistance against the grain of culture that is always going like
Completely countercultural.
Exactly, because you're always having to hustle, always need to make more. I grew up in sports too, and there was always like that saying like, hey, every time that you stop, someone's working to get better, right? And it's I think that is like evil, like an evil way to live your life, thinking that way. But Sabbath like is a commitment to ourselves to stop. And one author like says that when we stop on Sabbath, it isn't just stopping to stop working, but also stop wanting and stop worrying about needing to get the next thing, or the pile of laundry that needs to get done, or the next thing that you want to go and pursue in your dreams, or the next thing that you want to buy, and actually like committing yourself in discipline for a day to believe that the world's not going to stop spinning just because I stop, or I'm not going to be okay if I don't continue to pursue more. And it's a commitment to actually stopping that ongoing pursuit of more per day.
It's not easy. Even like in like entrepreneurial culture, like hustle culture is like a thing in the work world, right? And like even like people having side hustles, like second and third jobs, just to like some people are just trying to make ends meet, but other people are just trying to fill the time.
Yeah.
Right. And like if I have 5 extra hours in my week, I can fill that with something, right? And yeah, it's toxic. It doesn't actually take you anywhere.
Yeah, I think like in chapter 5 of Ecclesiastes, the preacher talks about like those who consume, like the rich who consume more and more become more and more hungry, right? It's like this ongoing cycle of like, it is never enough. And so there's always more that could be done. And Sabbath is an opportunity to say, hey, there could be more to be done, but not today. I'm just going to rest today.
A French philosopher named Blaise Pascal, he kind of coined the term like the God-shaped hole. Like in our hearts, right? He talks about like this vacuum that exists in human existence. Ecclesiastes 3:11 talks about like that God has put eternity in a man's heart, and this term I kind of talk about these kind of it's almost the same idea. What are some ways that we see kind of in society and life that people go about pursuing to fill that hole, the things that they think can fill that absence apart from God?
I think that people look to put their identity in anything other than being a child of God. People who don't know God will say like, I'm a mother, and they put their identity in that, or I have this job, or they put their identity in that. And the theme is that all of those things are fleeting. Whether you're a mother, whether you're like anything can change at any moment. Jobs can change, situations can change, houses can change, friends can change, churches can change. Everything is always uncertain, other than being a child of God. So when we place our identity in any of those things, it can't fulfill us. It can't sustain us because those things will always be changing. And the only thing that is certain and that we can remain constant in is that we are a child of God. And when we place our identity in that, then we can be sure of that.
That's true.
And I find, and I feel like this is seeped into kind of, not here at Faith, but just in the church in general. Like, we have to be constantly doing good things for God to notice us, or for God to answer our prayers, or for God to love us. And that's not what Scripture teaches at all. And so I think fighting against that pursuit of being good versus knowing whose we are and what that actually means to be like created by the Creator, to be knit together, to have a specific purpose here on earth. And when we can stop and think about those things and resist chasing the things of this world that are temporal, we can hopefully start to reorient kind of how we live, with the ultimate things being the ultimate. I know it's tricky and I struggle with it, but I think it's helpful.
Well, and it's interesting you bring that up, because I think it's actually like a unique struggle within like ministry. Like we all work for God as part of our job, and there's this whole like the struggle I've always had of like equating my performance and my role with my walk with God, or with God's like pleasure in me, right? Like, and like it's a dangerous place to be, right? Like even like doing ministry can become an idol, and it can actually take the place of God in our hearts, and it's a messy thing to figure out sometimes. But that's, you know, the pitfall of the role, I guess. But yeah. Well, guys, I think we've covered everything I wanted to cover this morning. Hopefully this has been helpful for you and insightful. Check out the Costco guys and 5 big boom barrels. That's the big takeaway from today.
I apologize. Yeah.
Setting us down rabbit holes. I love it. It's that week between Christmas and New Year's. Nobody's got anything going on. Like you're tired. You don't really know what day it is right now. You've probably eaten too much cheese. So go down a little YouTube rabbit hole. New Year's is a few days away. In your realm, like it's midnight, it's New Year's Eve. Are you awake, or have you been asleep for hours?
I think I've recognized since Ashley and I became parents, it is more of a battle to get to that midnight point. It's not nearly as fun as it used to be. But I'm also a sucker for watching like the ball drop in New York. So I'm gonna fight to get there this year.
I would say like 12 o'clock hits, I'm watching the ball drop, but 12:01, like I'm washing the dishes, the party is over, like take the hint, go back to your house. Like I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I would be awake at midnight, but only because it is so important to my kids and like the excitement on their faces. I've seen it, I've been there. I could go to bed much, much earlier, but the excitement on their faces when it's a new year, I'm not going to miss it.
Yeah. I'm awake.
Yeah.
Like being in youth ministry, mornings are difficult. Late nights are normal. I'm up.
Yeah. I'm awake, and I agree with Lisa. Like our kids are the age now where they want to be part of it, but like give them like my own like preference, I'd be awake, but I'd be like watching reruns on Netflix. I'm probably like 3 episodes into like an Office like rewatch or something like that. Like ball drop, I don't care. But like, you know, I'll watch a New Year's episode of a show. But yeah. But wherever you find yourself, hopefully you had a Merry Christmas. I hope you have a Happy New Year. Look forward to seeing you back in church the first Sunday in January. Pastor Phil, you'll be preaching that week. Continuing back in Ecclesiastes. But until then, love you guys. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll see you soon.